Now, despite the minging wet weather you see out the window, we are in the middle of the traditional summer drought, that time of year where there's no new games that come out at all. Luckily, it gives me and Scott a chance to catch up on some of the games that we've missed recently. First up for me is the Team Ico HD collection. This is a lovingly crafted package of two PS2 classics, brought up to beautiful HD and given a properly smooth frame rate. You also get a bunch of video extras where Team Ico pretend that The Last Guardian is actually coming out. Now, I'm a big fan of Shadow of the Colossus. This was one of my favourite games in the PS2, so seeing it in widescreen, HD and moving smooth as butter is simply breathtaking. This is how HD collections should be, taking essential classics and making them even better. The reason I love Shadow of the Colossus is how brilliantly simple it is. To bring the girl back to life, you and your horse, Agro, travel the land at the command of a big scary voice and fight 16 massive, brilliantly designed bosses. That's it. Just point your magic sword in the air and ride towards the light in the horizon. The horse, Agro, is probably one of the best video game horses there is, simply because, like real horses, he's a bit of a dick. Sometimes he ignores you, sometimes you've got to kick him a few times to get him going, but you'll love him because he'll save you from getting beasted by the big Colossi. And those Colossi are the stars of the show. These massive, lumbering, oaf-like creatures are difficult, multi-parted puzzles full of frustration, tests of endurance and brilliant thrills, like the first time you grab on this bird's wings and way fly up into the air. If you're like me though, you'll have to do that a few times because you end up falling in the lake and starting over again. One of the things I love about Shadow of the Colossus is the world around you. It's a striking, desolate place. Despite the game's short length, the world makes it feel like a big adventure game, even though it isn't. In games like Zelda or big RPGs, every place is an event, with temples and dungeons feeling like signposted set pieces. In Shadow of the Colossus though, you stumble across old temples, ruins and centuries old shrines, and they just exist. They're just there as window dressing, just there for you to wander through on your way to the real set pieces. Shadow of the Colossus was a classic, but playing it in this HD collection is something special, and I'm glad I get the chance to go through it again. Now, this is where I hand in my gamer card, because I never owned Ico back in the day. Even worse, I've never even played Ico. Yep, this is my first time actually playing one of the greatest games in the PS2. And to be honest, I was a wee bit nervous going into it. It had been built up so much over the years by everyone who wrote about it. And the funny thing is, despite everything that's been said about Ico, about how great it is, nobody really talks about what's actually in the game. Obviously, I knew there was going to be, you're a wee boy with horns and you have to guide this mysterious girl about, but really, that was it. So I was really properly surprised and delighted to find out that Ico is actually a Prince of Persia game, and I love Prince of Persia. It's a game that's all about jumping and climbing and solving puzzles. The twist is that you've got to protect Yorda, this mysterious girl, while you're doing all that. Ico is a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of games today. There aren't many cutscenes and dialogue is kept to a bare minimum, but the characters really work, just because both of them are so fragile. You want to protect Yorda when the big dark beasties turn up, but you yourself are just a wee boy armed with a stick. I'm glad that the years of hype didn't ruin Ico for me. As it is, it's become one of my favourite games that I've played, and along with Shadow of the Colossus, it just shows how special and unique Team Ico's games are. Here's hoping that The Last Guardian actually makes it to a release, because if it doesn't, that would be a real shame.